Did a brand new Steven Universe poster depicting Steven reuniting with his family post-future just drop in 2024? Yes. But why? Well, if you ask me, I think Sugar's baiting us. Oh man, look at me making Steven Universe theories and videos on posters. I guess some things never change, huh? Give me that sword and shield! This morning, I opened my eyes, only to see life itself hand Steven Universe fans a much-needed W. New artwork from Rebecca Sugar, featuring Steven, who's a little bit older, having a picnic with Connie, Greg, and the Crystal Gems. Now, where did this poster come from? Well, Rebecca and Ian had a talk at Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver, and these posters were just a nice little bonus, a thank you for the students who came. Yet, the Steven Universe one gives off a vastly different energy from the OKKO one. And again, I kinda think it feels like bait, so I'm doing my part, taking the bait, and making this video. After working on Adventure Time and creating Steven Universe, Rebecca knows how fandoms operate. They know how things will spread, and the takeaways fans might have. And as we talked about before, Sugar has stated that she wants Steven Universe back. She wants to make more, stating in November, I would really appreciate it if everyone who would be interested in something like that to make a ton of noise and make it really known, because I would be thrilled to explore that. I think in this current media landscape, if there's a huge amount of public demand, then that is something that becomes impossible to ignore. So, keeping that in mind, does it not feel a little intentional that while Ian's poster for OKKO just featured all the different kind of fun outfits and designs characters have had throughout the series, Rebecca's poster for Steven Universe is feeding us crumbs of a new status quo? I'm not saying they had to do the same thing, but again, Rebecca knows how fandoms work. She knows channels like the Roundtable will make videos on it. She knows people will post the posters to TikTok. They knew it would get reposted to Instagram, and they knew it would spread like a wildfire on Twitter, with the intention of raising the question, does this mean we're going to get more? That if someone saw this without context, they could assume this illustration could potentially be for a new series. It's a plan to drum up hype and excitement so people will be starving for more. And in a post-Fiona and Cake world, a show that did exceptionally well for Max, the platform is definitely going to be interested in doing more revivals like this for other Cartoon Network shows. Hell, towards the end of last year, pretty much all of the regular show crew was in Europe. You know, where Gumball is made and a lot of Cartoon Network shows are getting outsourced to. I wonder why they would be there, especially when the industry is kind of in shambles and no one really has a job. But that's for another video. We're here to talk about Steven, and with that preamble out of the way, I think there's actually a lot you can take away from this poster. It really does feel like this is Sugar giving us a way to check in on the characters, see where everyone, but really Steven, is at. Again, the characters are clearly having a picnic. Greg has a cooler, you have the bag of chaps, Lapis has the bread and wine, or maybe it's sparkling grape juice. This may or may not be an indication of the timeline, how far out this is from future, but we'll get back to that. The inclusion of the van and the Dundee makes it seem like they're meeting up for this picnic, as in, Steven and Connie are just visiting. Steven hasn't moved back to Beach City. This might not even be in Beach City. It really makes you wonder where Steven is staying now, or if he's just been on a multi-year-long road trip. But speaking of Steven, the boy seems to be in much better spirits from where he was at the end of Future. Still rocking the black star shirt, but instead of the dope pink jacket, he now wears a light blue button-up, which he was wearing in Sugar's post-finale doodle, so this could be a design she's had in mind for him for quite a while, or she just enjoys drawing him in that fit. Either way, I like it. It gives him a mature aura, like our little Steven is really growing up. And it seems like he's trying to grow a beard, which does lead me to believe this could be at least 2 years after Future, making Steven about 18 years old, but it could be even longer than that. Something else I noticed about Steven though is that he seems to be a lot more ripped from when we last saw him, which tracks as it seems as if he was exercising regularly in the future. Granted, he would always train with the Crystal Gems, but it didn't really seem to include strength training or yoga. I don't know, maybe I'm projecting for my own fitness journey, but his arms definitely have that anime protagonist build going on. He's graduated from ukulele to guitar. Again, just another detail that shows Steven is maturing, but I think the most significant detail is actually the inclusion of the pebble, as the pebbles are heavily tied to his mom. One of them showing up to the picnic, admiring Steven in such close proximity, tells me that Steven is finally unpacking the complex relationship he has with his mother. Future saw him spiral, as he wanted to deny being anything like his mother. Now, he's learning to embrace that side of himself again, because the pebbles really do represent the goofy, carefree nature of Pink Diamond, the side of her that's overshadowed by her toxic tendencies. I'm glad Steven's coming to terms with that, and I would love to actually see that arc on the big screen. Now, something else is going to draw a lot of attention on this poster, aside from the fact that Steven and Connie switch shirt colors, may they be together forever, is Pearl carrying Greg. I think most people will just be jazzed if their friendship is still thriving. It also shows that Greg is kinda getting up there in age, which is crazy because he still should have been in his early 40s during Future. So how long has it been? Is this just tied to back problems, or is there a deeper issue with his mobility? A comment on the community post I made about this poster suggested that maybe the gems could make some tech for Greg, like a hovering wheelchair or scooter. And that alone already painted the picture in my head for what an episode of a new Steven Universe series could look like. What if Peridot remolded some limb enhancers into something that could aid Greg? And not only does it help him walk, it lets him be a part of the team, finally fighting side by side with his son. But of course, hijinks ensue. Steven and Greg learn some lessons, and by the end, Greg is just chilling with his new gem wheelchair or walking cane or whatever the Crewniverse comes up with. I think the topic of watching your parents get older as you get older is something that's made for Steven Universe, and something that would hit for an adult audience that an adult revival could have. Which is why, although I think Steven could be 18 here, I'm gonna wild out a bit and suggest that at the most, Steven could be in his early 20s here, aging in real time since the end of the show. Because again, if this is bait to gauge interest for a continuation on Max, that continuation would be a young adult series like Fiona and Cake. Fiona and Finn in that show are in their 30s. To suit the adult demographic. And while I don't think Steven looks 30 here, I do think he could pass for early 20s, which might sound crazy to y'all, but I really don't think most people's physical appearance changes all too much from the ages of like 16 to 21. At least that's how it was for me. It wasn't until my mid-20s that I started to age physically. And even then, if I shave my beard, I look like I'm in high school again. And it makes sense that an adult continuation of Steven Universe would want Steven to be an adult, but not too old where his design would be drastically different from where it was in Future. Not to mention, we know that Steven is canonically going to age slowly, so again, it checks out for me. And between the older looking Steven, Greg seeming like he's closer to his late 40s, early 50s than his early 40s, and Lapis potentially bringing wine, these could all be Easter eggs that, yes, Sugar wants to make an adult Steven Universe, and we have to do our part by letting Max and Warner Bros. Discovery know that we want more Steven. In general, I want to get back into Steven Universe content. I'm actually working on a Pink Diamond character analysis that I hope to get out within a few days, and I'll be posting sneak peeks of that over at Patreon. I've been rewatching the show a ton lately, and honestly, I love it more now than I did back then, and I can't wait to revisit the series under a more mature lens. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on this new poster? On Greg getting older? On Steven's new look? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please sort of like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Check out Toondrip for some dope cartoon merch, including a lot of Steven Universe inspired designs. Link in the description. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.